Right now, in this very moment, your person is being swept through an ocean of emotional turbulence that feels both overwhelming and sacred. This isn't just any ordinary wave of feeling, this is something that reaches into the deepest chambers of their soul, stirring up ancient longings and eternal truths that they can no longer ignore. At the very epicenter of this emotional storm lies their profound, aching desire for you. It's a yearning so intense that it transcends the physical realm and enters into something far more mystical and profound. Their higher self, that eternal aspect of their being that knows no boundaries of time or space, is constantly reaching across the void between you. Like invisible threads of golden light stretching through dimensions, their soul calls out to yours with a persistence that borders on the miraculous. This energetic pull isn't merely emotional, it's a force of nature, as real and powerful as gravity itself, drawing two souls back toward their destined union. You may have begun to notice these subtle yet undeniable signs of their spiritual reaching. Perhaps there are moments when your mood shifts unexpectedly, when waves of inexplicable sadness wash over you like gentle rain from a cloudless sky. Maybe you've felt sudden surges of longing that seem to come from nowhere, or experienced physical sensations that make your heart skip a beat, particularly around your heart chakra, that sacred energy center where love flows in and out of your being like a river of light. These experiences aren't random coincidences or figments of your imagination. They are tangible proof that your person's soul is actively tugging on the invisible cords that connect your energies, seeking the profound comfort and spiritual connection they once basked in when your lives were intertwined. In the quiet chambers of their heart, they carry an absolute knowing, a truth written in starlight across their consciousness, that you are utterly unforgettable. You have become etched into the very fabric of their soul in ways that defy explanation and surpass understanding. This isn't merely about fleeting attraction or nostalgic memories of happier times. This is about a soul-deep recognition, a connection that feels divinely orchestrated, rare beyond measure, and unshakable even in the face of time and distance. You represent something sacred to them, something that cannot be replicated or replaced by any other human being who might cross their path. Throughout their entire existence, they have never encountered another soul who awakens within them what you do. You don't just touch their heart or stir their emotions, you speak directly to their spirit in a language that bypasses the mind and reaches straight into the essence of who they are. It's as if you hold a key to chambers within their being that they didn't even know existed until you came along and unlocked them with your presence. No matter how many new faces appear in their life's journey, no matter how many roads they travel or how far they wander, there remains a void shaped exactly like you that no one else can fill. They find themselves unconsciously searching for echoes of your essence in strangers' faces, listening for hints of your voice in others' laughter, looking for traces of your energy in every person they encounter. Yet each search ends in the same profound disappointment, because your energy signature is so rare, so pure, so magnetically aligned with the divine source that it cannot be duplicated or substituted. In recent times, they have been moving through their days carrying a quiet ache in their chest, a persistent sense that something essential to their very existence is missing. This isn't ordinary loneliness, this is a spiritual homesickness for a connection that transcends the material world. This feeling has grown exponentially stronger as you have consciously shifted your focus inward, reclaiming your sacred energy and prioritizing your own spiritual growth and evolution. You are no longer chasing them, either through energetic cords or physical pursuit. You've stepped fully into your own divine power, and this transformation is impossible for them to ignore. The shift in your energy creates ripples across the fabric of reality itself, and they feel every single one of these changes in the depths of their being. Where once they might have felt the familiar comfort of your attention and pursuit warming their spirit, now there exists a profound silence that forces them to sit alone with their thoughts, their regrets, and their truth. This absence speaks volumes louder than any words ever could. It echoes through the corridors of their consciousness, reminding them of what they once had and foolishly let slip through their fingers. You represent everything they have ever yearned for, everything they didn't even realize they were searching for until the universe blessed them with your presence. You embody dreams they couldn't articulate and answered prayers they never knew they had whispered into the darkness. Yet when the cosmos presented them with the opportunity to choose you completely and wholeheartedly, they faltered. They hesitated not because you weren't magnificent enough, but because their own wounded self-perception convinced them that they themselves weren't worthy of such divine love. Their lack of self-confidence and the lingering shadows of self-doubt created barriers that prevented them from stepping fully into the sacred connection you offered so freely. In ways both conscious and unconscious, they felt undeserving of the pure, unconditional love that flowed from your heart like healing waters from a sacred spring. The very magnitude of what you offered terrified them, because accepting it would have required them to see themselves as worthy of such a gift. The thought of allowing you to see them completely, vulnerabilities and all, filled them with such overwhelming fear that they chose the path of retreat instead of courage. Whether through conscious decision or unconscious self-protection, they began to withdraw from your light, leaving you with questions that hung in the air like incense and words that were never spoken but desperately needed to be heard. At that time, in their confusion and fear, they may have convinced themselves that disappearing was somehow the kinder path, both for you and for them. But now, in the stark clarity that comes with hindsight and spiritual awakening, that decision weighs upon their soul like an anchor dragging them into depths of regret they never knew existed. The memory of vanishing from your life without explanation haunts their quiet moments with relentless persistence. During those times when they cannot distract themselves with work obligations, social interactions, or surface-level pursuits, this regret rises up like a tide, forcing them to confront the magnitude of what they abandoned. In these moments of profound reflection, they remember with crystalline clarity the countless times you were their sanctuary. They recall how your presence alone could calm the storms raging within their spirit, how you made them feel simultaneously safe and seen in ways they had never experienced before. They remember the healing balm of your energy wrapping around their wounds, the way your understanding eyes could peer straight into their soul and love what they found there, even when they couldn't love it themselves. Now they understand with devastating clarity that walking away from you didn't erase or diminish the sacred connection between your souls. If anything, the physical distance and emotional separation has made them more acutely aware of just how rare and precious what you shared truly was. The love they carry for you hasn't diminished or faded with time, instead, it has deepened and intensified, now colored with the bittersweet awareness of regret and the profound understanding that they possess something extraordinary and failed to treasure it as they should have. This realization has awakened within them a burning desire to make amends, to somehow bridge the chasm their choices created between your hearts. This isn't merely about soothing their guilty conscience or seeking absolution for their mistakes. This is about honoring the sacred truth of what lives within their soul and recognizing that connections of this magnitude don't grace our lives often, perhaps not even twice in a single lifetime. The yearning to reconnect, to rebuild the trust they shattered, and to show up as a completely transformed version of themselves grows stronger within them with each passing day. They are beginning to understand that healing what has been broken between you will require far more than eloquent apologies or promises spoken into the wind. It will demand consistent, authentic actions, raw vulnerability, and the courage to face directly the fears and insecurities that prevented them from choosing love the first time it was offered. Even in your physical absence, your energy continues to work miracles in their life, inspiring them to grow in ways they never imagined possible. They observe from a distance as you step more fully into your own divine power, focusing on your personal happiness and aligning more deeply with your authentic spiritual path. This transformation in you both draws them like a moth to flame and challenges them to rise to meet the level of consciousness you're embodying. They are beginning to understand that they cannot return to you carrying the same wounds, fears, and limitations that caused them to run before. They must undergo their own spiritual metamorphosis, healing the broken places within themselves and rising to become worthy of the caliber of love they once turned away from. The idea of making things right with you isn't merely a hopeful wish floating through their mind, it's becoming a soul-deep necessity that their very spirit demands. They are awakening to the profound truth that their soul will know no peace, no rest, no true fulfillment until they find the courage to face both the depth of their feelings for you and the weight of the choices they made in fear. In the sacred silence of meditation and prayer, when they close their eyes and turn inward, they can still feel your presence surrounding them like a gentle warmth that fills every space between heartbeats. Sometimes your essence comes to them as flashes of memory, your radiant smile illuminating their inner vision, or the music of your laughter echoing through the chambers of their heart like church bells calling them home. Other times it manifests as something far more subtle yet equally powerful, the distinct feeling of your energy signature, that unique vibration that is simultaneously grounding and electric, peaceful yet vibrantly alive with divine light. It is this feeling above all others that continues drawing them back to thoughts of you like a spiritual magnet. They understand now that they could meet thousands of souls, engage in countless conversations, and even form new bonds of affection, but none will ever mirror or match the unique frequency of connection that exists between your souls. You represent something irreplaceable in their spiritual journey. To them, you have become the embodiment of the one who got away, not because of some cruel twist of fate or divine punishment, but because of their own fears and limitations. You are their beloved who slipped through their fingers not due to incompatibility or lack of love, but because they couldn't find the courage to hold tight when love asked everything of them. Now, as they stand in the aftermath of choices they can never unmake, surveying the spiritual landscape their decisions have created, they are beginning to glimpse the path forward through the mist of regret. They understand that this journey back to love will not be simple or easy. The road to redemption will require tremendous courage, profound humility, and a patience that can only come from genuine spiritual maturity. Yet the thought of losing you forever, of never having another opportunity to truly honor the sacred connection that lives between your souls, has become infinitely more painful than any fears that once held them paralyzed. And so, with each sunrise that graces their world, the magnetic pull toward you grows stronger, guided by the quiet but persistent voice of their higher self. This divine voice whispers eternal truths into their consciousness, that this connection is worth fighting for, that the love they carry is not an illusion born of loneliness, and that somewhere in the depths of your being, you may still feel the same soul-stirring recognition that they do. From their perspective now, illuminated by hard-won wisdom, they can see clearly how the stagnation in your connection came to be. They recognize that things became still and lifeless not because of any lack of potential, but because they weren't contributing nearly as much as you were to the sacred garden of love you were trying to grow together. From the very beginning of your connection, you approached your bond with fearless dedication, pouring your entire heart into nurturing what existed between you as though it was simultaneously the most fragile and most precious thing in your universe. You showed up again and again with unwavering commitment, tending to your connection with the devotion of a gardener caring for the rarest of flowers. While you gave everything, they allowed their fears, insecurities, and internal battles to create walls between their heart and yours. They remained motionless when they should have been moving forward alongside you in spiritual partnership. They hesitated and held back when they should have been reaching out with open arms. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, they became a shadow in a connection that you were carrying almost entirely through your own spiritual strength. They witnessed with their own eyes the struggles you endured, the heavy burdens you carried in silence like a sacred offering. You never complained, not even once, despite the cruelty life sometimes showed you in the steep, difficult path you were asked to walk. You lived by the truth that nothing truly worthwhile comes easily, and you embodied this wisdom by putting in consistent effort day after day because you believed in the potential of what you were building together. But they, trapped in their own selfishness and spiritual short-sightedness, failed to recognize and honor the magnitude of your sacrifices. They were too absorbed in their own fears, too lost in the maze of their own mind to see clearly the depth of your love and the true cost of your unwavering commitment. They were blind to the sacred gift you were offering. They now carry deep shame for their failure to open their heart and speak their truth when it mattered most. There were countless moments when they felt moved to share the depths of what lived in their soul, but each time they retreated into silence instead of stepping into vulnerability. You played every role in their life with grace: friend, partner, supporter, guide, spiritual teacher. You took action for them when they were paralyzed by their own limitations, stepping up to protect and nurture your connection while they remained a passive recipient of your love. They became a receiver rather than a giver, taking the warmth you offered so generously without offering enough of their own light in return. Now they can see how unbalanced and profoundly unfair this dynamic was to your beautiful, giving spirit. The truth they must face is that they feel embarrassed and ashamed for being so weak in their role as your partner. They understand now that they should have been your safe harbor, your steady ground, the strong presence who could carry you when weariness threatened to overcome you. Instead, it was you who demonstrated strength, resilience, and the courage to persevere even when they had nothing substantial to offer in return. You never backed down or gave up, even during the most challenging and heartbreaking moments, while they allowed selfishness and avoidance to guide their choices. The deepest source of their regret lies in remembering when you were emotionally shattered and truly needed them most, and they didn't step up to meet that need. They should have been there without question or hesitation, but they weren't. This failure will remain with them always, a permanent scar on their conscience. They carry profound sorrow for letting you down so completely, for betraying the sacred trust you placed in their hands, and for taking the pure gift of your love for granted. Their ego and fear became walls that separated them from your light, but in building those barriers, they also trapped themselves in a prison of their own making. They destroyed their own inner peace and authentic happiness, all because they couldn't release their pride long enough to see and embrace the truth of what you offered. You were the greatest blessing the universe had ever placed in their path. Your friendship, your connection, the bond you shared, it was one of the most precious gifts the divine had ever entrusted to their care. But they were spiritually blind to its true value until the moment it was gone, vanished like morning mist because they couldn't appreciate the treasure while it was still within their reach. They had foolishly assumed it would always remain available, that somehow you would continue holding on regardless of how little they offered in return. But authentic love doesn't operate according to such selfish expectations, and neither does genuine trust. Once these sacred bonds are broken through neglect and taking for granted, they become incredibly difficult to restore to their original strength and beauty. Now they sit in the echoing silence of what once was, looking back with eyes finally open to the magnitude of what they lost, understanding that they allowed something utterly irreplaceable to slip away through their own spiritual immaturity. The missing you creates is profound and all-encompassing. They miss not just your physical presence in their world, but the music of your laughter, the way you encouraged them to become their best self, your remarkable ability to see their highest potential even when they were showing you their shadow side. They miss the way you believed so completely in the possibility of what you could build together, how you fought with such determination for what you shared when they were too afraid to fight alongside you. They miss your strength that inspired them, your kindness that healed their wounds, and your unwavering loyalty that made them feel treasured in ways they had never experienced before. Most of all, they miss that indescribable feeling of being truly connected to another soul, of knowing that somewhere in this vast universe lived someone who understood them at the deepest levels of their being. Someone who could see their authentic self beneath all the masks and protective walls and love what they found there. There are nights when they lie awake replaying the precious memories you created together, searching through each moment like an archaeologist seeking clues, wondering if there was a specific point where everything shifted, where they could have chosen courage instead of fear, honesty instead of hiding, vulnerability instead of walls. They wonder if there was a moment when they could have prevented the distance that gradually grew between your hearts like an invisible chasm. Though they understand they cannot change what has already been written in the book of your shared history, They cannot help but wish they had tried harder, loved braver, and shown up more completely when it would have made all the difference.